Hey guys, welcome back or welcome to another video on the Still Soul YouTube space where we're all about mental health awareness, mental health support, mental health education, mental health realness, everything as much as we can do right here. Cool? My name is Paula K. You can call me PK. That's easy, that's simple. That's been my nickname since the beginning of my time. So yeah. Alright, so today's video, I can't remember the last thing I said, but I know I mentioned that I wanted to talk about Jamaica's system when it comes to mental health care. And so I'm gonna touch on that a little bit today. I start recording in the day where there's better light. But yeah, we'll fix that one day. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna just talk briefly about our system, some information about our system, and also how, based on my opinion and my observation, even my experience, how our society views mental health and mental health issues as a whole, and also some final thoughts, some opinions. All right, so if you see me looking down every once in a while, it's because I have my notebook here and made a lot of notes to help me, to help guide this video. I didn't want to just come here and just ramble aimlessly. I wanted to at least have some information. So if you see me looking down and reading off or sound like I'm reading off something, it's because I am reading off something. But it's cool, we talk. All right, so before I get into the system information, let's talk a little bit about some stats. So, and whatever it is that I talk about today, I will cite the sources in the description box so you guys can go ahead and look for things for yourself, because that's important. Cool? Great. So, according to the Jamaican profile, for the burden of mental disorders in the Americas, done by the Pan-American Health Organization, and this was done in 2016. 5 to 15-year-olds, in 5 to 15-year-olds, anxiety disorders are predominant. And then at 20 years old, the most common disorders are anxiety, depression, and self-harm. Substance use disorders at 14%. And then, so the ones that I mentioned before, 40% of the mental disorders burden in Jamaica. So I hope that's clear. And then 14% of 20-year-olds and up, they have to deal with substance use disorders. And then another 9% has to deal with more severe mental illnesses like schizophrenia and the bipolar disorders, right? So this is basically talking about what mental health issues look like in our young people, right? So in 2017, some stats, I don't know where I got this from, but I'm gonna link it. In 2017, it was found that 15 to 34-year-olds have the highest prevalence of depression. And that same statistic is similar in 2019, right? It was also found that 25% of adolescents between 13 and 17 years old attempt or consider suicide. 18% of that actually attempt. The 2019 stats as it relates to suicide talks about the fact that between 45 and 55 persons commit suicide yearly. And that's a large amount of people. That's a significant number. I mean, Jamaica is a small island. We only have 3 million people. So, but I mean, 45, 55 may seem like a drop in the bucket in the face of 3 million, but a life is a life. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. And then in 2021, based on information from the suicide and mental health hotlines, between October 2019 and October 2020, there were 753 calls with females at a higher percentile, right? And a lot of those calls were persons dealing with anxiety, depression, or considering suicide. So anxiety and depression are the most common mental health disorders, right? And they usually walk hand in hand. They usually come together. They come in pairs sometimes and manifest in different ways. And then based on what has happened since 2020, coming up to now, how, this whole pandemic has, really shifted our lives not for the better, shifted our lives in ways that not a lot of us could properly process or handle. Yeah, these things would definitely be more prevalent. And there have been attempts by different groups to do whatever to help to alleviate, mental health issues. There have been private groups, there have been, government entities, government campaigns, and we're going to talk about those. There have been persons one-on-one who, connecting with other people who are experiencing, similar mental health issues as a result of what's happening. But what I really want to get into is how equipped is our society in dealing with mental health issues? Like, is our system properly or adequately supported? We're going to find out. So, in 2019, October 2019, which is during that time, there is mental health day, October 10. Yeah, mental health day we celebrated at that time. And according to an article by JIS, the Ministry of Health started a campaign called Speak Up, Speak Now, which is essentially a platform for persons to share their stories or experiences, their experiences with mental health issues. And that was in a bid to end the stigma surrounding mental health issues, which is very important because the stigma, destigmatizing mental health issues is like half the battle, right? So the campaign was supposed to include, or was set to include, branding, promotion, public awareness and education, distributing and sharing those personal stories, media outreach and all of that, right? I remember I went on the Ministry of Health website and I saw where there was a video with Dan. Yeah. He was like the influencer doing the video, and there were like other persons, scattered in the video, but he was like the main focus, which I think is cool, I live on the roadside. But yes, he was the one that was doing the campaign, or featured in the campaign. Yes. So yeah, that was a thing. And then on top of the Speak Up, Speak Now campaign, there was also the establishment of the mental health and suicide prevention helplines. I don't know if you guys have ever used that helpline, but if you have, please comment below its effectiveness. Like, have you gotten through to anyone? Was their help, helpful? Yeah, let's just share it in the comments below if you've ever called the helpline, right? So the mental health helpline was established, and there was also 14 buses given for community servicing, and that's in regards to community outreach, community support, mental health support, that kind of thing, right? And then of course there was ongoing recruitment. There was said to be ongoing recruitment for my mouth, I can't talk. For mental health care professionals, for psychologists and psychiatrists and all of that. So this is what the article said. I can't say for sure if that was actually if that was actually something that had been done. This was about 2019, right? But yeah, so in 2020 now, another GIS article speaks about the fact that the government is prioritizing mental health. And okay, so I don't want to nitpick or like criticize our government. I'm not here to do that. That's not what I'm here to do. But I'm just thinking about the fact that these mental health issues or these mental health focus things come out specifically like October, which is supposed to be mental health awareness, right? And I know that like when it's a particular time, certain things tend to get more focus. So October with Mental Health Day, May there's a week of mental health awareness, and it's kind of like heightened around those times. And then if you're not in specific spaces, the conversations and the attention and the focus kind of taper off until you get back to that time, October or May. But that's just me. I could be wrong. I could be in the wrong spaces, which I mean, I've all have mental health pages, so probably not. But let me know, is that something that you observe too, especially like with certain entities or whatever? Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out, Anyway, so the article from GIS highlighted that Jamaicans have been struggling with their mental health as a result of the Panasonic and the pandemic, right? And because of that, the government was planning or had planned to launch a COVID-19 mental health response program. And that program was supposed to be community-based support, offer ease of access to mental health services, psychological first aid, give neighborly check-ins, especially to like the older or at-risk groups, because they couldn't necessarily at that time go out and do whatever because of the high risk of contracting COVID-19. So, there was neighborly check-ins. There was also like assistance with daily tasks. And so that was something that the government said based on this article that they were going to do. That was 2020, right? So I don't know. I actually don't know how well that was done. I know that there were groups that did their own outreach, that did their own support, but in terms of like the government itself doing this that is that they're going to do, I don't know how well it was done. And I guess I'd have to like get information from persons who actually had experienced that kind of support from the government. But I mean, at that time, the focus had been for the longest while on the pandemic, on COVID-19. So in a way, because that focus was there, mental health, mental health care, mental health attention definitely suffered a bit more. And based on what I'm about to share, it's obvious that that's the case. So fast forward to 2021, we're in 2022 now. I keep on having to remind myself of that. But a Gleaner article titled Mental Health Epidemic Warning. And it essentially highlighted the surge in mental health disorders triggered by the pandemic. Based on insider information shared, it was stated that there are insufficient resources for mental health management in the public health system, which is true. It is true. There was lack of bed space at the UE for psychotic patients. The best that some mental health care providers could do is stabilize these patients and send them home because there was nowhere for them to keep them. And stabilizing them sometimes can be like a temporary fix. But what are you gonna do? There's no space. So, all the beds and stuff were occupied by COVID-19 patients. We know that COVID-19 was like the main focus, or has been the main focus for the last 2 years. So, yeah. The person also said, the insider, quote unquote, whoever that is, also said that there was weak support system in the community service. And also that there had been no psychologists hired for the mental health care clinic in Kingston and St. Andrews. So you can imagine what the other parishes look like. There was one psychologist service in Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Clarendon. Aren't those our three biggest parishes? I know Manchester is one of the largest parishes. St. Elizabeth is fairly large too. So to have one psychologist servicing 3 parishes, and it's not like, say, each parish has a small cap of persons who will need mental health support, So you have one psychologist trying to stretch themselves. That's a lot. That is, I read somewhere, I don't remember where I saw it, but it was it's one psychologist to every 100,000. That's not good, That's rough. That's really, really rough, guys. And then the person also shared that, the community health vehicles, it should have a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is the doctor that actually administers the medication. A social worker, a psychiatric nurse. However, the vehicle usually just has a mental health officer, psychiatric aides, and psychiatric aides to admit the medication. So you don't even have the full team of support on the community service vehicles. You don't have the proper human resources available, properly qualified human resources available to service these communities, to service these parishes. You don't have the psychologists, you don't have the psychiatrists, you have aides, and you have mental health care officers, which, yes, they're qualified, but to a point, right? They're not necessarily qualified to diagnose, they're not qualified to, do certain assessments. They could possibly have training in doing certain assessments or but they're not necessarily, they don't have all the skill set needed. They don't have all of the tools needed for this job, right? And so you have limited number of psychologists available across the island in the mental health care system, and then the public mental health care system, and then the service that is offered, it doesn't have everything, right? So the president, I think she's the president of the Jamaica Psych Association, says that, there is really a concern because a lot of her people, the psychologists and psychiatrists in the association, they have had to deal with an increasing number of persons who have suicidal ideation, depression, anxiety, panic disorder, and more chronic, more serious mental health issues like bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. Sometimes it's not even that the person just develop it. It could be a case where these people have had that issue before, but the pandemic and everything that has come with these last few years have made it worse. So let's kind of pause here a bit. The last couple of things that I shared with you. Oh my god, it's like 20 minutes, but we're gonna continue. So promises and plans and everything were made based on the information I previously shared. Again, I'm putting everything in the description box for you guys to read. But promises and plans and all these different things were made in regards to the mental health care system and, you know, how the government plans to tackle it. But the issue that we see is just the resources, the lack of resources, the insufficient resources, human resources and others, right? And when you really think about it, a lot of healthcare or mental health care professionals, if you want to really find a good mental health care professional in Jamaica, you probably have to go private. And private ain't cheap. Private is not cheap. It's not accessible to everybody. The last time I checked out a service provider, it was $9,000. The average Jamaican does not have $9,000 put aside for a mental health care checkup. And I don't know of any insurance company covering therapy. They may cover medication. Don't quote me. I don't know. I have to double check on that. But in terms of going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, well, a psychologist or a therapist, to have that 2 hour conversation to really get to the root of your problem, I don't know of any. I don't know a surgical or guardian canopy covering that. So, not easily accessible for every Jamaican, and the public healthcare system does not have enough resources. It's a whole mess, guys. So from my point of view with our society, there's still the issue of stigma, which, I mean, stigma when it comes to mental health issues is everywhere, not just Jamaica. How Jamaicans deal with it, I mean, I know that for a lot of us, when we think of mental health issues, we think of the madman on the road. I don't know if that is still a widespread thought or ideology, but typically that was it. However, with the rise in social media influencers, and then we've had some pretty decent Jamaican influencers coming out recently and just sharing on their mental health issues. That has been helpful in kind of slowly but surely turning the tide of how mental health care, or how mental health rather, not mental health care, how mental health is viewed in certain spaces. However, not every Jamaican is on social media, and if they're on social media, not every Jamaican is watching the same content, is viewing the same content, right? So yes, hats off to our Jamaican influencers and you know, persons in public spaces who use their platforms to really talk about these issues. We definitely need more of that. You can think about our favorite comedic auntie, Julie Mango. You can think about, you know, Quiet Perry. He shared his own experiences recently on his own platform and other platforms about, you know, dealing with anxiety. I think Rushcam talks about it often too. And there's so many others who talk about mental health care issues. So that's great. However, there's always more work to be done, right? So, what are my thoughts on our society, and basically what are my thoughts on Jamaica's ability, or the lack thereof, in dealing with mental health issues? So, like I said before, the lack of adequate resources for a proper system. Everything that was talked about, it seems good theoretically, but it's lacking in the practical sense. And it could be for a number of reasons. And I think the main one, this is my opinion, guys. This part of the video is all my opinion. Definitely all mine, okay? But from my point of view, I feel like there aren't enough hands on deck. And I think with a good mental health care system, just as how with a good healthcare system, you need different levels of people. You know, you need your doctors, you need your surgeons, you need your who's not in a hospital? Nurse. Oh my god. You need nurses, aides, you need and other support staff. They all come together to make the system work. You know, not the whole hospital can have everybody being the doctor. You know what I mean? So I think with our system, with our mental health care system, we need to think of a more robust and more advanced system. So we need more psychologists in the public care system. Yes, we need more psychiatrists. Yes, we need more psychiatric nurses. But we can also have other people. We have social workers in different spaces. We can have more mental health officers, you know, trained in different things, trained in doing community support, community outreach, community workshops, whatever the case may be. But I mean, when it comes to the public mental health care system, I just think it boils down to lack of proper resources or enough resources, right? And then something else to consider, are mental health care workers, are they being compensated well? Because guess what? Yes, there could be love for mental health care, there could be a passion there, but if I can't pay my bills, that love and passion go and die, just like I might die because I can't buy food to eat. Yeah? So yes, you want more psychiatrists, yes, you want more psychologists, but are you compensating them properly? Because you can't tell the people them say, oh, come work for me, come do this, come do that, but you're not making the work worthwhile. Yes, there's passion. Yes, there's interest. Yes, there is whatever. But let's be real. We want to be paid properly. I'm not a psychiatrist. But yeah, people want to be paid properly. So that's something else I think can be considered too. And like I mentioned before, there's good effort from like regular people, you know. There's persons who are advocating, who are creating safe spaces, being more transparent with their experiences, you know, causing people to see that, oh, I'm not alone in my struggle. That's always good. And I think it's helpful in addressing or in dealing with the stigma attached to mental health care, or I keep saying mental health care, to mental health issues. So when you have a person who lives with bipolar disorder, who comes out and talks about what it's like to live with bipolar disorder, that's great. That's perfect. You know, somebody else who probably lived with bipolar disorder but never even realized that it was that, they can feel like, oh yeah, I connect with that person. I feel I've experienced these things before. And, you know, maybe what helped them can help me, and they can go and get that support. But yeah, and if, you know, more persons can reach more people in different demographics, who knows, maybe it will help. I mean, I don't know how the older generation feel about mental health issues. I don't know if they're all for it. I don't know if they are like, I don't know. But I mean, each one reach one, I think, right? And also we have to make sure that, you know, the social media and mainstream media portrayal of mental health issues. Okay, so we can't control every single thing, but probably putting out more positive information about mental health care issues. Why do I keep saying mental health care? Mental health issues, putting more positive things out there, putting more edifying, educational things out there, as opposed to mocking and you know, just adding on to the shame attached to mental health issues. if we change the narrative, continue rather to change the narrative of mental health over time, then I think that will definitely help our society. And of course, have properly organized community outreach, workshops, information sessions, Q&A, like whatever it is, in different communities, again allowing persons to reach more people. So I think bolstering the public mental health care system is something that our government should definitely look into. I don't know if it's something that is necessarily a major priority for them. If anybody who works in government, specifically the Ministry of Health, can give me can just prick me and tell me if mental health care is really a priority for you guys, because it needs to be. Persons are struggling, persons are suffering in silence, and they really and truly don't know what to do. The few people who are qualified to do counseling and everything, them kind of tired too. But I mean, the work have to go on. Support is needed for everyone, and yeah. So anyway, this is a video of me rambling, but it's good rambling. It's healthy rambling. I'm gonna come better as we go along, and I'm gonna try to do a video in the daytime so the lighting is better too. But guys, if you are in Jamaica, how you feel about our mental health care system, or public mental health care system? Do you think we even have one? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, girl is just video number 2. But yeah, let me know how you feel about, our system, how our government deals with mental health. What would you want to see differently? And let's just talk about it in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully it won't be too long after this one. Bye. Have a good one, guys. Take care of your mind. Keep safe. Love you. Oh, like, comment, share, and of course subscribe. Bye guys.